Hi guys, today we're climbing. So if you guys checked out the iNav Fixed Wing Group Wing Talk last Sunday, you may have heard Josh's story about his issue where he lost control of his elevator. Now basically what he was doing was implementing an automatic climb mode, but he did it as a complete swap rather than just an add. So what the automatic climb mode does, basically if you're say in cruise mode for example, you can just use one of the controls on the transmitter to add a little bit of up elevator to get you to just constantly climb hands off. And that's what Josh was implementing. So this video has been on my list for a while, and I thought, seeing as the topic's already about, I also mentioned it in my mixer video, I thought I'd show you guys how to do it. We can set this up on the iNav mixer, and there are some advantages and disadvantages to doing that. I'm going to show first how to set it up on the transmitter. So I'll be showing in OpenTX, but I'll also be showing screen grabs from EFOS as well next to that, so we can see how they both compare and get it set up on both transmitters. Now the advantage of doing it on the transmitter is that you're only ever sending the elevator channel to iNav. So you don't need an extra channel to tell iNav how much elevator you want to use. The disadvantage is depending on how you've got your switches set up. So if you have your mode switches on multiple RC channels, then iNav might not 100% be in cruise mode when you're requesting that it is. However, if you have all your modes going through one RC channel, iNav can only do one thing, so we can pretty much say that this is safe. Whereas doing it via programming in the mixer in iNav, you're guaranteed that you're always going to be in cruise mode when this is enabled. What I'm going to do is take you through setting it up on the transmitter. Now the first thing that we want to do is find out which switch that we're using for cruise, because you really only want this active when you're in cruise. Otherwise you could be in a completely different flight mode, have this active and wonder why your plane's flying funny. And if you're in something like acro or manual, that could cause even more problems. Unlike angle and horizon, where they'll just basically put the nose up how high you've got the control input. If you have this on in acro, it will just keep rotating. Same with manual. So what we want to do first is make sure that we're in cruise mode, which is where we really only want to be using this. So we just go to our modes page. We've obviously got a switch set up for cruise, and we just need to find where that is. So on this transmitter, it's on SA in the down position. Obviously if you've got more complex switch layout, just find where your cruise is and remember that position. What we can do now is head into OpenTX companion. Now what I've got here is just a very basic model. So it's a standard AETR setup. We have an arming switch and we have our mode switch. So what I'm going to do is add in a new mix on the elevator. So what I'm going to do is click on there and click add. And I'm going to call this auto climb, auto CL, because it doesn't fit. And what we're going to do is select our source as the slider on the side. So you could use the slider, you could use a pot, just something that's adjustable so that you can fine tune how much of a climb you want. Left slider. Weight. Now the weights are slightly different on EFOS and OpenTX. With EFOS, we can actually tune the upper and lower. So what I've done on the EFOS example, what you'll see is I've put it at 50% for climb, but only 35% on the dive side. So this, we can actually use it to go down as well. It's not just climbing, we can auto reduce our altitude as well. But I figured it's safer to have slightly less on the downside than it is on the climb side. So I've reduced that. But what we can do is just set this to 40. Of course, you can tweak these values. And also where it's on a slider, you can just turn the slider less. So there's no real issue. Now, the next thing that we want to do is have this active only when we're in cruise mode. So on OpenTX, it's this switch here. And our cruise mode was SA down. So that's it. If I do the simulation, we can see it working. So let's get our outputs. So we have our elevator on channel 2. So if I move the elevator, there we go. Our slider at the side at the moment will do absolutely nothing. So let's recenter that. We'll get in cruise mode. And now if I increase the slider, it's just going to sit at that 16%. So if we're in angle, it'll just put the nose up slightly and climb. Of course, if you find that this is the wrong way round, we can just reverse it. So that's actually nose down. Again, it depends which way around you want the slider to work. All we need to do, if we want to reverse it, is set the weight to -40 in here. So now if we simulate, you can see we're now climbing when the slider is moved up, and we're descending when the slider's moved down. And as soon as we come out of cruise mode, we have a regular elevator again. So there you go. That's how we do it in both OpenTX and in eFOS. And just to show you it working on here, at the moment, I'm now in manual. So we have our regular elevator. I'll put that centered. I'll go into cruise mode. And then what I'll do is I will adjust up the slider a little bit. And you can see we've got a bit of up elevator. And we still have our full normal throw there. Obviously it's reduced because it's in cruise mode, because of feed forward and all that. It appears less than what's in angle. But if I switch to acro, it's about the same. So full deflection is the same. It's just the feed forward side. So cruise mode, we're in auto climb, which is on full, which is the 50%. But obviously test this out when you're flying just to get the right amount. You may find that you just want to tweak those percentage values so that when you're doing the auto climb, it's the percentage value is the absolute maximum climb rate you want for an automatic climb, and then you can just dial it down to get it to whatever rate you want. And also descent, you just want to make sure that it's a nice, safe descent. So there we go. That's how we can set it up in OpenTX and eFOS. But what about if we wanted to do this in iNav? So what we would need to do is, instead of doing this change, so we'll delete this, what we'd need to do is send that slider, which I'll just call climb, and that can be active all the time. And that will get sent over the radio. So in this case on channel 7. So what I'll do is I'll just get that set up on eFOS. And now we'll head into iNav. So if I just pop into the receiver page. So yeah, we can see channel 7 is our slider. So what we have again is channel 6 down is our cruise mode. So what we need to do is, first we're going to head into programming. And what we're going to do is have an equal, and we're going to set flight mode is cruise and the value of 1. So what this says is if we're in cruise mode, then that will activate. Unfortunately, of course, because we're on the ground, we can never actually enter cruise mode. So what I'm going to do is change it to angle for a minute. So if I head into my modes, obviously you don't need to do this. This is just for testing. So I'll put that there. I'll get rid of cruise and we can save. So now there you go. So imagine that this is actually detecting our cruise mode. So we now know when we're in cruise. As I say, if you're sending lots of different channels with your flight modes on to iNav, this is the better way of actually guaranteeing that you're in cruise. And now what we're going to do is head into our mixer. So we have our servo output for our pitch on servo function number 1. So what we're going to do is add another mixer rule, which will also be on servo function number 1. And we're going to choose channel 7, which is our slider. We can reduce the weight down to that 40%. And what we need to do is make sure that logic condition 0 is when it's going to be active. And of course, that is when we're in cruise mode. So there we go. Our pitch servo is using RC channel 7 with a weight of 40% when we're in cruise. And just to re-show you that, logic condition 0, flight mode, it says angle, but you should set this to cruise. So what we're in at the moment is acro. So you can see that the slider does nothing. If I go into our cruise mode, our slider then moves. And again, if you find that this is going the wrong way round for how you want your slider set up, all you need to do is reverse the weight in the mixer here. If I save and reboot, that should flip around to the other side. So there you go. We've just now reversed our slider. So there you go, guys. I hope you found this video useful. The automatic climb is handy if you're especially doing long range and you just want a slow progressive climb to get up to your 400 feet altitude. Of course, it is better to do this in the transmitter if you're limited on channels and you can guarantee the flight mode. If not, then doing it in iNav is the safer option. But there you go, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Click the subscribe button and the bell icon to hopefully get this out to more people so they can learn how to do this too. Hell, you could even share it if you want. That would be really great. But yeah, enjoy the flying, guys. Fly your models like you stole them and have some nice auto cruising.